Hey guys, I'm Captain Foley,
I'm Connor Coggins.
and we just had a Discovery trailer, but we've already done our reviews, so this video is very short. I'm just kidding. No, we're going to be breaking down this trailer into different categories, small bite-sized videos that you guys can really enjoy and kind of get a flow for what's going on in our minds and maybe teach you a few things. And today we're going to be taking a specific look at communicators.
Yes, we got a glimpse of a communicator in the new trailer. So many things in this trailer, guys. We're really going to take a look at everything. But we want to look at it. We understand the 60s were the 60s. We understand 2017 and 2017. But there is a visual continuity to Star Trek. And in these videos, we want to look at that in time order to see, does Discovery fit? Does it not? Where it does link, where it doesn't. So the first communicator we see is in Enterprise. It's clearly flip, black and silvers, little bits of displays. Potentially too advanced, but at least a visible communicator and sort of smartphone, well, sort of a flip phone / communicator sort of style, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. This one's interesting to me. I never really liked it for Enterprise, to be honest, but seems a little too advanced based on the TOS one. But yeah, so this one always reminded me of my old flip phone. But let's go to the second one, and this is the Kelvin timeline one. This is from the JJ-verse. Very simplistic, very TOS though. I did like the continuity with this one. It really tied together with TOS very well and was a good reimagining. Yeah,
this was seen basically as much as in the Discovery trailer. They flip it in one shot in 09, and that's the Kelvin. So it's nice they built the prop, clearly TOS inspired, clear flip phone inspired. Not really much detail to it, but very reminiscent, but still has that Kelvin bronzy sort of feel as well. But then we move on to the cage. This was the very first communicator we ever see in the 1960s canon. It's a bit odd. It's got the flip. It's very... This one is the one that's the retcon, the less well making sense version. But this is the next in the line. So it goes from the orangey flippy thing to this clearly transistors and things much more stylistically unique and much more dated. But that's the evolutionary step.
Absolutely, yeah. This one's actually interesting because I've heard it speculated that it also has transporter control. As mentioned in the cage, they have not transporter control. They can control the transporter from their communicator, hence why it may look different than the other ones. But let's move on to the next one, and this, of course, in chronological order, is the Discovery trailer one.
Yes.
We get a nice look at it. It's stocky. It's good. From what you can see of the face, it looks very TOS, much like the Kelvin one. But a little more detail. So,
and then TOS is obviously the familiar one, the one that really started it all. You've got familiar flip, nice sleek body, couple of buttons, display that sort of gives information but not really. It does date in terms of what information is there, but stylistically it's a very solid design. So, guys, that's them in order. This is them actually in order. Look at the dates. Enterprise 2155, the Kelvin 2233, and obviously, yes, the Kelvinverse was a reimagined Star Trek, and yes, you could argue it wasn't prime in terms of look. There are many problems and flaws with this design, but in the logistical, it is counted as prime. So this communicator we should at least discuss as part of the evolution. You can argue it either way, but it needs to be in this discussion. Then Cage. Then 1 year later, after the Cage technology, is when Discovery happens. Then goes to TOS 10 years later. So Stuart, what do you think about the evolution of the communicators?
It's if it was a line graph, it would do this. The middle is where it's kind of primitive, but that's because it's the first one we ever see chronologically.
Yeah.
Well, filming wise and tech, so I don't have much of a problem with that, especially if the Cage style one is in fact a experimental prototype of sorts that does incorporate transporter control.
I never.
I'm
buy
trying to.
Yeah, I never buy the prototype route. It's overused because
it is. But
what I think's interesting. Obviously, I think the Cage, the phaser or the laser, sorry, and the communicator. Those are the few things that we retcon as being they don't fit. The bridge and uniforms, they are much more conducive to the Trek universe. So let's take that out. For example, let's look at the evolution of just these four. What do you think then?
Well, the Kelvinverse, again, I think falls down a little bit compared to the Enterprise one. The Enterprise one does have the more information that's easily visible, and more control functions as well as far as buttons go. Kelvinverse, again, it's not Prime, so take that for what it is.
Well, again, it is and it isn't. It's a reimagined Prime, but it is technically Prime unless it's not Prime, but it was Prime. That's why we haven't included the 09 future version, because that is an alternate timeline version. That has no bearing in this because it's not even remotely in the same line of technology. It's alternate.
Yeah. So I don't see much of a problem with this evolution at all. I mean, as we've talked about before, with things with TOS, they seem simpler because it's more advanced. So hence why there's less knobs, buttons, controls, and displays. And then as things kind of evolve a little more, sometimes they have to get a little more complicated, and then TOS comes around. So,
and obviously people out there have those two minds about this. Either it's the 60s stays in the 60s. You can't obviously use the same tech. It would look silly nowadays. But then that's perfectly valid. But as Doug Drexler says, and I'll mention this a lot, you know, Star Trek is not a sci-fi TV show. It's a period drama. It takes place in a certain universe in a certain time, and we see these timelines evolve, you know, all the way through 200 years of history. So you know, you can't just as some people from Star Trek said in posts on Facebook, they said, you know, you wouldn't go to the American Civil War and give them M4s because the guns were too boring, and say it's a period drama. It's like, no, it's not a period drama. You've changed the look. So you can't. Canon's important. So if you're taking a canon continuity look, there's a black and white line. But then again, so it's same with Cage, but the TOS is the TOS. If you want to reboot that and have a new look, make it modern, that's fine. Then it's a rebooted look. I will say though that looking at this evolution, for me personally, I see, and I think this will also come up quite a lot. You look at the NX-01, silvers, hinges. Look at what we can see of this Discovery one. Very clear hinge, but more TOS. Stylistically, very, very similar, but rather than having those weird angled shapes, it's now just a rectangle shape, which is close to Cage, close to Kelvin. It feels like a TOS Enterprise communicator, even with the circle button at the bottom, like the NX-01 has. So I'm kind of like, it's an NX-01 evolution rather than TOS devolution.
That's a very interesting point. Yeah, I never really considered that. See, I always look at it as a de-evolution going back because they're based on TOS, but I like how you're thinking there. And as I've said before, the Enterprise era one never really worked for me. I thought it was cool looking, but it just seemed way too advanced when compared to the TOS one. But I don't know. Do you remember your first thoughts on that?
Yeah, I thought it was a neat, relatable sort of smartphone-esque. It's bulkier. Well, it's actually smaller, but it feels bulkier. You know, it's got more visible hinges. I mean, it felt less refined, and obviously silvers and black worked a lot more with modern technology. Yeah, it felt like a very natural. You know, like I always say, you know, people complain our smartphones do more than these things. That's not technically true. These are communicators. They're designed to do a specific thing. Your smartphone, yes, it can play Angry Birds. But without a network signal, it literally is a brick. So it is a very basic piece of tech. They've taken away from the phone aspect and put into the mobile gaming device and whatever. A communicator, guess what? It can go across a planet, it can go into orbit by itself. So no, the TOS is far more advanced. The Enterprise NX-01 is far more advanced than our smartphones because independently it can communicate over hundreds of miles or dozens of miles, whatever, and a battery life that exceeds ours. So no, it's designed for one purpose, and it's infinitely more advanced than a smartphone. A smartphone is nothing in comparison. So I never like that. It's designed for one thing. And then you look at the communicators on TNG, another advancement. It can also communicate across a planet, whatever, and it's that big, you know? So
Yeah,
also
exactly.
more advanced. So,
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's my thoughts.
Well, there you have it, guys. I mean, you can see the evolution here. The Discovery one fits for me. I love the way that it looks. It's got kind of a bulkier feel, which I think they're trying to tie in with the Cage a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think it works. So I guess one of the questions we want to answer with these videos is Discovery Prime universe, or is it more of a reboot? In my opinion, based on the communicator design, I can see it being both. I can see this fitting into Prime very well, actually, based on this timeline. But it also has a reboot vibe as well. So it's kind of a tough one. Some of them are going to be cut and dry, I think. Some of them are going to be very iffy. This one, I think, is very iffy.
Yeah, all these videos we're doing, each one will have a different answer for different reasons. Yeah. A communicator, think of your smartphone. How many iterations have there been in 10 years? Discovery to TOS. We don't even know how old it is in Discovery. There could be 2 new communicator designs in between. So, you know what I mean? There's a lot more wiggle room with something this small. It does fit with Enterprise, I think. That, if you just had those 3, it would fit in Prime. A little bit too advanced, but stylistically you could make those steps. You throw in Kelvin, yes and no. You throw in Cage, year after, not at all, except the boxiness, but that's such a minimal feature. I think this is a TOS reboot style, but based on the idea of an NX-01 sequel, using the last Prime as the standing point, you know, rather than looking back at the past of the past, we're looking back at the future. The past of the future, but the latest incarnation. So I think it's this one's reboot, but also Enterprise sequel.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my thought.
Well, there you go, guys. Hopefully that kind of look at this timeline. You make up your own mind, yes. And definitely put in the comments below. I'd love to hear the discussion on these ones. So, looking forward to all your thoughts. If you like the video, please give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more of this, because there's going to be a lot more coming in the next few days and week. Yes. I don't know exactly what our release schedule is going to be, but we're going to get a few of them out there. So, yeah. And
if you can support us, I mean, we put so much time into these videos. You know, Discovery video just hit, and we had a 30-minute response video 2 hours after the Discovery trailer dropped, and boy, you guys have loved it. So support this show to be your home for all Trek news, updates, analysis. That's what we do. Analysis. You're not going to find this anywhere else. So please subscribe. Please support us on Patreon, a monthly donation service. The more you give, the more time we can spend on really analysing every little detail and properly, or one-time donation at trekyards.com given, and we can do more. So thank you so much for watching, and bring on Discovery.
Yeah, and stay tuned for more, guys.
Yes.
Until then, though, I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Connor Coggins.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.